Hello everyone, welcome back. In the last lecture, we just discussed about the importance of nuclear fission. We calculated the amount of energy released per fission qualitatively, quantitatively, and also we compared the energy released in the fission of 1 gram of uranium-235 with that of the energy that we get from thermal reactors, from which we learned that this nuclear fission process is an important process as far as the energy is concerned. Now let us take up the mass distribution of the fission fragments. This is the typical example which I mentioned in the last class, in which uranium-235 is bombarded with a thermal neutron. It will form a compound nucleus, that is uranium-236, which undergoes fission to form barium and krypton. In this process, I said 3 fresh neutrons are generated, and there are these are also not stable, so they undergo beta decay. So you get beta particles, neutrinos, gamma radiations, etc. in this process. This is one of the modes by which this uranium-236 breaks up. But there are many modes by which uranium can undergo fission. You get various other products. If you plot this mass distribution of these fission fragments, you get a graph similar to this. From the graph you can notice that there are 2 peaks. That means this mass distribution is not symmetric, or the fission of uranium is not symmetric process. There is a distribution. You can notice that there are 2 peaks, lighter group and a heavy group. There are 2 groups here, and there is a distribution in each group. So here that distribution varies from mass number say 80 to 100, and this varies from 120 to 160 or so. And each group has a peak. This is peaked at A is equal to 95, whereas this is peaked at A is equal to 137. But from this graph, we can understand that the fission is asymmetric in nature, and the asymmetric fission can be better understood by taking the shell structure of the nucleus. By taking spin and parity into consideration, one can explain this mass distribution between the fission fragments in a better way. Now if you consider the energy distribution from the fission, energy distribution between the fission fragments, neglecting, in the last video lecture I gave a table where I mentioned the energy distribution, energy carried out by various product elements, energy carried by the fragments, energy carried by the neutrons, energy carried by the gamma rays, energy carried by beta particles, energy carried by neutrinos. I just gave a list of those energies. But there I said most of the energy is carried out by the fission fragments alone. Neglecting the energy carried out by the other products, you can, if you plot the energy distribution, or if you calculate the kinetic energies and if you plot as a function of the mass number, or if you count the number of the fission fragments as a function of energy, then you will see that you get a graph like this. But how to calculate the kinetic energies of these fragments? That is simple. You can estimate the kinetic energy of these fission fragments by the extent of ionization they produce in the ionization chamber. Assuming this nucleus is at rest before fission process and neglecting the kinetic energy carried out by this incident neutron and also the energy carried out by the other products except these fragments, then using the law of conservation of momentum, you can write the linear momentum m1v1 carried out by the first fragment is exactly equal to the linear momentum carried out by the second fragment, because this nucleus is at rest, so that its velocity is 0. Total momentum, and we are neglecting this energy, the total momentum before this fission process is almost 0. Hence, the total energy of these fission fragments should be, total momentum of these fission fragments should be 0. That is, m1v1 plus m2v2 should be equal to 0. Magnitude wise, if you consider, m1v1 should be equal to m2v2. Direction wise, it should be opposite. So they should fly in the opposite direction. Therefore, the ratio of their velocities and hence the kinetic energies will be equal to m2 by m1. If you plot this fission fragments, the counts as a function of their energies, again you get two peaks, as we saw in the case of mass distribution of the fragments. So here also there are two peaks. That means, similar to the mass distribution, you can say that even the energy distribution is not uniform. You have a lighter group and heavy group. From this formula you can notice that most of the energy is carried out by the lighter group and vice versa. Now, to understand this fission, Bohr and Wheeler gave an explanation by using liquid drop model. They said this nucleus is like a charged liquid drop. You know that liquid drops are spherical due to surface tension. If you supply some sort of energy for a liquid drop, a spherical liquid drop, then the liquid drop will oscillate. It will oscillate, then it will deform from its spherical shape. The spherical nucleus or the spherical liquid drop will take an ellipsoid shape. Suppose if the energy supplied is greater than the surface tension of the liquid drop, then it will take a dumbbell shape and finally it will break up into tiny drops. Similarly, the nucleus. If you supply energy by, say, by thermal neutron, if that energy is greater than the activation energy, then this nucleus also oscillates and it will break up into two fragments of comparable masses. If the supplied energy is less than the activation energy, as in the case of liquid drop, if the energy that you supply, if it is less than the surface tension, then it will come back. So it will deform, but it will come back to its origin, it will regain its original shape. But if the applied energy is greater than the surface tension, then only you will see that the liquid drop will break up into tiny drops. In the same way, if the supplied energy is greater than the activation energy, then you will see that this nucleus will break up into fragments. This is how, by taking liquid drop as analogy, liquid drop model is a good analogy because it has certain features same as that of the nuclei. There also you can see that the mass number and other factors, so they are very similar to the number of molecules in a liquid drop, etc. And the nuclear forces are short range, nuclear forces are saturated force in nature. That means each nucleon can attract only definite number of nucleons. So by taking these kind of things, we have explained so many things in the liquid drop model. So fission is one of the process. This is how Bohr and Wheeler explained the fission of the nucleus by taking liquid drop model as an example. This is the potential energy plot. So you have a compound nucleus in its ground state. If this nucleus is bombarded with a thermal neutron, then this nucleus will become a compound nucleus. This is the nucleus is in its ground state. If it is bombarded with a thermal neutron, then you get ground state of, this is the compound ground state of the compound nucleus. It will go to the excited state, and if the energy supplied is greater than what is called as activation energy, then you will see that the nucleus will split up and it will break up into fragments. But if the energy supplied is less than the activation energy, then there is a chance that the nucleus will come back. It will not break up. It will come back to its original shape and size. But if the supplied energy is greater than this activation energy, then there is no chance that the nucleus will return back to its original form. It has to break up, so it will break into fragments. This is how this Bohr and Wheeler explained the nuclear fission process. But the theory for this nuclear fission was developed by Fong in 1954. He calculated the number of energy states for these fragments, that is given by this formula C1 e to the power of 2 square root of A1 E1 for the first fragment, and this is for the second fragments. So the subscripts 1 and 2, they respectively represents fragments 1 and 2. According to statistical model, energy is proportional to A1 T square. So the ratio of the energies, if you consider for these fragments, E1 by E2 will be equal to A1 T square and A2 T square. T is same because these nuclei, they will be at the same temperature. The fragments will be at the same temperature. Now if you calculate the probabilities of asymmetric to symmetric fission, it is given by this formula. And this E is the activation energy, and that activation energy will be same for these two nuclei, and that activation energy can be calculated using this formula. So here m star Az represents the mass of the compound nucleus, Ma1Z1 is the mass of first fragment, Ma2Z2 is the mass of the second fragment. So this difference gives you what is called as mass defect into C square, gives you energy, binding energy, minus kinetic energy of the fragments, minus deformation energy. This gives you activation energy. From this graph or from this equation, it is very clear this activation energy depends on so many factors like Az, A1Z1, kinetic energy, deformation energy. So that they are different for different nuclei. That is why you have distribution. Hence, you have mass distribution, energy distribution in the nuclei, or in other words, this fission process is asymmetric. We'll work out some problems on this. Here is an example. A nuclei with A is equal to 235 units splits into two nuclei whose mass numbers are in the ratio 2:1. Find the radii of the new nuclei formed. How do we do that? We know that the radius of the nucleus is given by R0 into A to the power of 1 by 3. R1 is equal to R0 into A1 to the power of 1 by 3. Similarly, R2 will be equal to R0 into A to the power of 1 by 3. He has given the ratios. Mass numbers are in the ratio 2:1. That is A1 by A2 is given, and A1 plus A2 you know, so that is equal to 3, from which you can calculate A1 will be equal to, you know the ratios, A1 by A2 is given and A1 plus A2 is also known. So the nucleus splits, so this is A. So you know the ratio and also you know the A value, so A1 plus A2 is equal to A. So if they breaks up, then you can calculate A1 and A2. A1 will be equal to 156 and you get A2 is equal to 78, and R0 is about 1.4 femtometer, and therefore R1, if you substitute and calculate, you get 7 femtometer, 7 Fermi, and R2 is equal to 5.99